He was shot, burned, and buried, still reported for duty. The sky was thick with red clouds, glowing faintly from the constant volcanic activity below. The ground shook every few seconds, and rivers of molten lava cut paths across the jagged rocks. The air smelled sharp and metallic, even though his suit filtered out the toxins. Captain Nathan Brooks stood a few meters away, looking at Ethan and the small team he was leading. Remember, this mission is critical. The alien faction we are after has technology that could destroy the colony if we don't get it first. Move carefully and report every step. Yes, sir, Ethan said. He tightened the straps of his pack and checked the pulse of his team. They were tense but ready. Claire Dawson, the communications officer, was still on the shuttle, monitoring signals from orbit. She had a feeling something would go wrong, but she trusted Ethan. He was the kind of soldier who never gave up, even in impossible situations. The squad moved forward, climbing over sharp rocks and avoiding patches of hot steam rising from the ground. They had been told the aliens were hiding in a canyon near the East Ridge. Ethan kept his eyes on the ground and the path ahead, every sense alert. "Team, stay tight," he whispered. "We don't know how many are waiting for us." The canyon was deeper than it had looked from orbit. Shadows moved along the walls, and Ethan's stomach tightened. They could hear faint echoes like whispers, but no words. The temperature rose as they went deeper. Heat shimmered around the lava streams, making the rocks look like they were moving. Ethan signaled his team to stop. "I see movement ahead," he said quietly. He raised his hand and pointed to a dark opening in the canyon wall. Through the faint glow of the lava, he could just make out shapes moving inside. "Looks like the entrance to a base," said Lieutenant Harold James, one of Ethan's squad members. "No idea how many are inside." "Doesn't matter, we move fast and quiet. Grab the tech, get out," Ethan said. They moved closer, keeping low. The aliens inside were strange to look at. They had long limbs and shiny, armor-like skin. Their eyes glowed faintly green, and they carried weapons that hummed softly. Ethan had studied their technology before, but seeing it in person was different. These creatures were fast, smarter than anything he had faced before. Ethan signaled his team to split. Two of them would take the left flank to the right, and Ethan would go straight in. They had a plan, but he knew plans often changed in moments like this. Suddenly, a loud hum filled the canyon. Energy beams shot out from the alien weapons. Sparks flew as the shots hit rocks and lava splashed into the air. "Contact! Contact!" shouted one of Ethan's squad. Ethan dived behind a rock as a beam scorched the ground near him. He fired back with his pulse rifle, hitting one of the alien guards. It didn't slow the creature. The aliens were moving fast, more than he expected. Fall back," Ethan yelled, but it was too late. More aliens poured from the base entrance. The squad was surrounded. Ethan's heart raced, but he stayed calm. He remembered his training. "Keep moving, don't panic, protect your team." He fired, jumped, and ducked as energy beams flew past him. Suddenly, a massive explosion shook the canyon. One of the lava streams nearby erupted, sending a wave of molten rock over the squad. Ethan rolled, trying to avoid the heat. Lieutenant James was hit. He didn't move. Ethan's stomach sank. "Move, keep moving," he shouted. Ethan grabbed another squad member, pulling her behind a large boulder. The alien leader appeared in the middle of the canyon. Its armor shimmered like liquid metal, and it carried a weapon larger than any Ethan had seen. The alien fired, and Ethan felt a burning pain in his shoulder. He fell to the ground, coughing. His suit's nanotech started working, repairing the damage slowly, but the pain was still there. He saw another blast hit his team. One by one, they were falling. Ethan knew he had to make a choice, stay and fight, or try to complete the mission alone. "I'm not leaving," he whispered to himself. He gritted his teeth and ran toward the alien leader. The battle was chaotic. Ethan dodged beams, rolled over lava, and fired whenever he could. He managed to take down a few alien guards, but the leader was strong and fast. It grabbed him, throwing him against a rock. Pain exploded through his body. He tried to get up, but the alien hit him again, sending him into the lava flow. Ethan fell in. The heat was unbearable, and he screamed as his suit tried to keep him alive. The lava burned the edges of his armor, melted small pieces of it, but the nanotech kept his vital organs safe. He floated on the edge, trying not to sink, feeling the heat sear his suit and skin. Somehow, he managed to crawl out. He was badly injured, burns covering his arms and face. Blood mixed with soot and sweat. He looked around. The canyon was quiet now. His team was gone. The aliens had retreated, probably thinking he was dead. Ethan knew they were wrong. He pulled himself toward a dark crevice in the canyon wall, dragging his burned body along. He could barely move, but he refused to give up. Hours passed. Ethan crawled through the rocks and lava flows, using every bit of strength left in him. He found a small cavern hidden under the cliffs. Inside, it was dark but safe from the lava. He collapsed, panting and burning. He closed his eyes and tried to focus. "I can't die here, not yet. I have to warn them. I have to finish this." Meanwhile, orbiting the planet, Claire Dawson noticed something unusual on her monitor. A faint signal was coming from the canyon, a pulse she couldn't explain. She zoomed in, adjusting the frequencies. "Captain Brooks," she said urgently. "There's a signal. It looks like it's Ethan, but he shouldn't be alive." Captain Brooks frowned. "Impossible. The mission report said he was killed in the explosion. Are you sure?" "I'm sure, sir. I've never seen anything like this. It's faint, but it's him." "Somehow he's alive." Back in the canyon, Ethan checked his communicator. The battery was low and the signal barely worked, but he sent a tiny pulse toward the fleet. It was weak, barely detectable, but it was enough. "I'm still here," he whispered. "I'll finish this." Ethan knew the aliens would return soon. He had to move quickly. Using pieces of broken alien equipment, he patched his suit and made it more heat-resistant. He scavenged what weapons he could find and hid in the shadows, waiting for the right moment to strike. Time passed slowly. Pain radiated through his body, every movement a struggle. He thought of his friends, of the colony, of the people depending on him. He refused to let them down. Finally, as the alien patrols returned, Ethan was ready. He had a plan to sabotage their base from the inside, to prevent them from using the technology against the humans. He felt weak, burned, and battered, but he also felt determination stronger than ever. "This is just the beginning," he said to himself. "They think they killed me. They have no idea what humans can do." Ethan took a deep breath, adjusted his suit, and moved silently through the shadows. The alien base was ahead, but he didn't fear them. Fear had no place here. Only duty mattered, and he would fulfill it no matter what it cost him. Even if it meant being shot, burned, and buried, Ethan Miller would still stand. Ethan Miller barely remembered how he had survived the lava flow. His suit's nanotech had done its job, repairing his burns and stabilizing his organs. But the outside of his suit was scorched, and his body ached with every movement. He forced himself to crawl into a small opening at the base of the canyon wall. The opening was dark and narrow. It smelled of sulfur and minerals, but it was cool compared to the surface. Ethan's hands and knees were scraped and burned, but he pushed forward, determined to survive. The aliens thought they had buried him, but he refused to give them the satisfaction. Hours passed. The world above was distant, and Ethan had no idea if anyone had noticed he was alive. The faint signal he sent had been weak, but he hoped it reached someone. He closed his eyes, letting his mind focus on one thought: move forward. The cavern widened into a large chamber. The walls were jagged and covered in strange crystals that glowed faintly. Steam hissed from cracks in the rock, making the air hot and wet. Ethan sat for a moment, catching his breath. He could hear movement in the distance. Small, quick sounds like claws scraping on stone. Ethan's instincts told him the aliens were nearby. He reached into his pack and pulled out a short energy blade. The glow was weak, but it gave him light. He moved slowly, keeping low and careful. He had no choice. The aliens might have set up patrols in these tunnels, and he could not fight them head-on in his condition. After moving for what felt like hours, Ethan reached a part of the cavern where the tunnels split. One path led deeper underground, and the other sloped upward toward a faint light. He listened carefully. The deeper path had a low, rhythmic noise, something alive, breathing steadily. The upward path had no sound, but the heat and the faint glow of lava made it dangerous. Ethan decided to take the deeper path. He needed shelter, and he also needed a chance to rest. The faint breathing might mean creatures, but he could handle that if necessary. As he moved, he noticed that the tunnels were not empty. Strange devices and panels lined the walls, covered in alien symbols. He did not understand the writing, but he could see small lights flashing. These devices looked like they were part of a security system. Ethan made a plan. If he could disable some of them, he could move faster without being detected. He crouched near a small control panel. The symbols were unfamiliar, but his human logic helped him. He pressed a few buttons, and one by one, the lights went dark. He held his breath as a soft hum indicated the system was offline. A small smile formed on his face. Even injured and burned, his mind worked. He was human, and humans could think in ways aliens could not predict. Ethan continued along the tunnel. Eventually, he reached a chamber filled with strange, humanoid creatures. They were bound in glowing restraints, and they looked terrified. Their eyes widened as Ethan stepped into the light. "Don't be afraid," Ethan said slowly. "I'm human. I'm not here to hurt you." The creatures whispered among themselves. One of them, a female, stepped forward. You survived?" she asked in broken common, the universal language humans used for alien communication. "Yes," Ethan said. "I survived. I need your help. The aliens here are planning to use their weapon against my people. I need to stop them." The creatures looked at each other, fear mixed with hope in their eyes. Finally, the female nodded. "We will help you," she said, "but we are weak. Alone we cannot fight. You must lead us." Ethan nodded. He lowered himself to a sitting position, exhausted but alert. "We will work together. First we hide and rest. Then we plan." They moved the creatures into a hidden corner of the cavern, away from patrols. Ethan tore strips from his torn uniform to bandage the worst burns on his arms and face. The creatures, though weak, offered food and water from what little they had stored. It was not much, but it was enough to give Ethan strength. As night, or at least the dim underground time, fell, Ethan thought about the mission. He had been sent to retrieve alien technology, and now he was the only human alive in enemy territory. His squad had been lost, and the alien faction was stronger than expected. But he could not give up. Humans did not give up. They adapted, survived, and fought. He looked at the creatures, their glowing restraints dim now that they were deactivated. "We have to move soon," he said. "We need a plan to stop their weapon and get out alive." One of the creatures, a male with dark green skin and narrow eyes, spoke up. "There are more of us in other tunnels," he said. "They are slaves to the alien leaders. They fear death more than anything. If you free them, we can help you." Ethan's mind worked quickly. "Good. That will give us numbers, but first I need information. Where is the weapon? How do we stop it?" The creatures exchanged looks. Finally, the female said, "The weapon is in the central chamber above. It is powerful enough to destroy your colony, but the aliens protect it. Many have tried to stop them. None have returned." Ethan clenched his fists. "We'll return," he said. "I will return and I will stop it." They spent the next hours moving quietly through the tunnels. Ethan led them, helping them avoid patrols and traps. He had learned to read the alien technology by now, seeing patterns in their systems. Each time they moved past a security panel, Ethan felt more confident. He could do this. During one stop, Ethan examined a broken alien device he had found in the tunnel. He touched the controls carefully. His fingers were burned and scarred, but his mind was sharp. He managed to reactivate the device partially. A small light flickered and a screen showed images of the alien base above. Ethan studied it carefully. "This is perfect," he said. "I can see where they keep the weapon. I can plan our move." The creatures watched him in amazement. "You think like a human," the female said. "You are clever even when hurt." Ethan smiled weakly. "Humans survive because we have to. We do not give up." They moved deeper into the tunnel system. Ethan discovered small rooms where alien soldiers rested, eating or repairing their equipment. Using stealth, they avoided all detection. Ethan found that the alien patrols were predictable, following a set rhythm. He memorized their schedule. This would be crucial when they made their move to stop the weapon. As they progressed, Ethan's injuries slowed him down. The burns were painful and his body screamed with every step, but he refused to let them stop him. Humans could endure more than most thought possible. He pushed through the pain, dragging the creatures with him when necessary. Finally, they reached a large cavern with a vertical shaft leading upward. Ethan examined it carefully. "This is our path to the central chamber," he said. "We climb this and we can reach the weapon." The creatures hesitated. The climb was dangerous. One misstep and they could fall into the lava below. Ethan looked at them with determination. "We have no choice," he said. "If we do not stop the weapon, your world and mine will burn. We must climb." Using ropes made from alien materials and fragments of his own equipment, Ethan led the way. His burned hands gripped the ropes tightly, muscles screaming, but he did not stop. One by one, the creatures followed, trusting his leadership. Hours passed as they climbed through the shafts and tunnels. Ethan's mind remained sharp despite the pain. He kept track of patrols, listening for sounds of footsteps or alarms. They avoided detection at every turn. At the top of the climb, they reached a narrow ledge overlooking the central chamber. From here, Ethan could see the weapon. It was larger than anything he had imagined, glowing with energy and guarded by dozens of alien soldiers. Ethan crouched behind a rock, whispering to the creatures. "This is it. This is what we came for. We cannot fight them head-on. We need to be clever. We need to use their own systems against them." The female creature nodded. "We trust you," she said. "We will follow your plan." Ethan looked down at the weapon, his body battered, his burns painful, and his mind focused. He had survived the lava, escaped death, and found allies among the enslaved creatures. Now the final challenge awaited. "We will stop them," Ethan said quietly. "And when we do, they will remember why humans are not to be underestimated." As they prepared to move into position, Ethan felt something deep inside. Pain, yes. Fatigue, yes. But also determination, human determination. No matter how many times they tried to destroy him, he would not fail. He would survive, and he would complete his mission. Even if it meant risking everything. Ethan Miller crouched behind the jagged rocks of the ledge, looking down at the alien weapon. It was massive, glowing with a green energy that pulsed like a heartbeat. Dozens of alien soldiers patrolled the platform around it, moving in a careful rhythm. The weapon itself looked alive, almost as if it was feeding on the energy around it. Ethan knew that one mistake could mean death, not just for him, but for the creatures who trusted him. He looked at the small group huddled behind him. The female alien, whom he had learned to call Lyra, and the male named Kor were tense but ready. They had agreed to follow Ethan's lead, knowing that he was their best chance at freedom. "Listen carefully," Ethan whispered. "We cannot fight them directly. Too many, too strong. We need to move quietly, disable their control systems, and then sabotage the weapon." "Timing is everything," Lyra nodded. "We understand," she said. Her voice was calm but steady, betraying the fear she tried to hide. Ethan studied the patrols. There were 4 guards closest to the weapon, 2 on each side. Their movements were predictable, moving in slow loops. He counted their steps, memorizing the pattern. "On my signal, we move," he said. "One mistake and we retreat. No heroics. We survive first, then complete the mission." The group waited in tense silence. Ethan could feel the heat from the weapon even from this distance. His burned arms throbbed with pain, but he focused. Humans had a way of pushing through pain when it was necessary. He had survived lava, fire, and gunfire. This was no different. When the guards completed their loops, Ethan signaled, "Go." They moved silently, sticking to shadows and rocks. Lyra and Kor followed closely, their small, nimble bodies helping them avoid detection. Ethan reached the first control panel. It was covered in alien symbols, glowing faintly with power. He touched it carefully, analyzing the connections. "Stand back," he whispered. "This will take a moment." Using what he had learned from previous devices, Ethan manipulated the panel. Sparks flew, and the hum of energy changed. The guards paused, confused by a small flicker in their weapon systems, but they did not detect Ethan. "Good," Ethan whispered. "Keep moving. Next panel right over there." The group moved as one. Ethan disabled the next 2 panels in a similar way, creating small glitches in the weapon's controls. Each panel he disabled made the energy flow less stable. The weapon's pulse slowed, as if it was weakening. "Almost there," Ethan said. "We just need one more panel to stop it completely." The final panel was closest to the weapon, guarded by 2 of the strongest aliens. Ethan crouched behind a rock, studying their movements. He noticed a small blind spot when one of the guards turned. Timing would be critical. "On my mark," Ethan whispered. 3, 2, 1, go." He darted across the platform, moving faster than his burned body should have allowed. Lyra and Kor followed, slipping past the guards silently. Ethan reached the panel and began working quickly. His fingers were scorched and sore, but his mind was sharp. He bypassed the security locks and inserted a small device he had crafted from broken alien tech. The panel sparked, and a loud alarm blared. Ethan froze. The guards had noticed. They shouted to each other and started moving toward him. "Move!" Ethan yelled. They ran. The guards fired energy beams and sparks flew around them. Ethan pushed Lyra and Kor ahead while he covered their retreat, shooting at the guards with a small pulse pistol he had taken from the canyon. His shots were precise, his mind focused on survival and the mission. The group reached a small tunnel leading away from the platform. Ethan felt his strength fading. Every step was pain, every breath burned his lungs, but he did not stop. Humans had a way of surviving even when all odds seemed impossible. Inside the tunnel, Ethan paused to catch his breath. The weapon behind them was now unstable, its pulse erratic. If the aliens did not fix it quickly, it would shut down. "We did it," Lyra said softly, looking at him with awe. You really are different, stronger than anyone I have seen." Ethan shook his head, pain flashing across his face. "No, humans survive because we have to. We do not give up. That is all." As they moved deeper into the tunnels, Ethan knew the mission was not over. The aliens would notice the sabotage soon, and they would come after him. But he had something they did not expect: knowledge of their systems, allies among the prisoners, and the determination to survive. Hours passed. They found more alien prisoners in hidden chambers. Ethan freed them, giving them hope and weapons when he could. Each person they freed added to their strength, but also to the risk of detection. One prisoner, a small male with bright orange skin, looked at Ethan with wide eyes. "You are brave," he said. "Why risk your life for us?" Ethan smiled faintly. "Because someone has to. Humans fight for more than themselves. We fight for others even when it is dangerous. That is what makes us human." The prisoners nodded, inspired. Ethan knew he had given them hope, and hope was a powerful weapon. As they moved through the tunnels, Ethan found a hidden chamber with a view of the surface. The red sky of Vorton 9 glowed above them, the volcanoes sending rivers of lava through the valleys. From here, he could see patrols moving in the distance. "We need to send a signal," Ethan said. "The fleet needs to know what is happening. They need to prepare for rescue." Lyra looked uncertain. "You're humans, they are far above. How will they hear us?" Ethan reached into his pack. He had salvaged a small transmitter from broken alien tech. It was weak, but it could send a low-power signal. He activated it, adjusting frequencies. "Claire should be monitoring this," he whispered. "She will pick it up." The signal pulsed through the tunnels, weak but steady. Ethan watched the screen, waiting. Minutes passed. Then a faint reply blinked on the display. "Ethan, is that you?" The voice was Claire's. Relief filled Ethan's chest. "Yes, Claire, I am alive. I have the weapon. I am moving to stop it, but I need help. Alert the fleet." "They must be ready." Claire's voice trembled slightly. "I will do everything I can. Hold on, Ethan. We will help you." Ethan nodded, even though she could not see him. "I will hold on. We will stop them." He deactivated the transmitter and moved the group further into the tunnels. The weapon behind them pulsed erratically, showing that his sabotage was working. But the danger was far from over. The aliens would soon realize what had happened, and they would come hunting. As they moved, Ethan reflected on what had happened. He had survived what should have killed him. Lava, fire, alien weapons, and even death itself had failed to end him. His body ached, his burns throbbed, and his lungs burned, but his mind was sharp. Humans survived because they refused to quit. They reached a small cavern that overlooked another tunnel leading directly under the weapon platform. Ethan studied the layout carefully. "This is our next move," he said. "We go under the platform, plant more devices to destabilize the weapon completely. Then we make our escape." The group prepared. They tied ropes to jagged rocks and tested the path. Ethan led the way, his burned hands gripping the rope tightly. Lyra and Kor followed, carrying the weaker prisoners. They moved quietly, avoiding patrols and alarms. Ethan's heart pounded in his chest, but he forced himself to stay calm. Timing was everything. One mistake and all of them would die. Finally, they reached the base of the weapon platform. Ethan placed the devices carefully, using his knowledge of the alien tech to maximize their effect. The weapon's energy flickered, pulsing wildly. Sparks flew, and small explosions rocked the platform above. "Done," Ethan whispered. "Now we wait." The aliens noticed almost immediately. Alarms blared, and soldiers rushed to investigate. Ethan and the group retreated to a small hidden chamber nearby. From there, they watched as chaos erupted on the platform. The weapon was destabilizing, and the aliens were scrambling to fix it. Ethan looked at Lyra and Kor. "We did it," he said quietly. "We stopped it for now." But he knew this was only the beginning. The aliens would not give up easily. They would come after him and the prisoners, and he had to be ready. Humans survived against impossible odds, and Ethan Miller was not about to stop now. He took a deep breath, pain and exhaustion weighing on him, but his mind was sharp, his resolve stronger than ever. He had survived lava, fire, alien weapons, and near death. Now he would survive the alien pursuit, sabotage their weapon completely, and make sure his people were safe. Even if it meant risking everything, Ethan Miller watched from the shadows as the alien weapon above pulsed erratically. Sparks flew and the hum of energy changed, sending vibrations through the platform. The sabotage devices he had placed earlier were working perfectly, but that also meant the aliens would notice soon. He turned to the group of freed prisoners. Lyra, Kor, and the smaller creatures looked tense. "Stay calm," Ethan whispered. "We move fast, follow my lead." "We cannot let them catch us here," Lyra nodded. "We trust you, human, lead the way." Ethan took a deep breath. His arms and legs throbbed with pain, his burns still raw. Every movement was agony, but he forced himself forward. Humans survived because they endured, even when everything hurt, even when death seemed certain. The group moved quietly through the narrow tunnels under the platform. Ethan had memorized the alien patrol routes, and every step was calculated. He counted his team's movements, making sure no one lagged behind. Suddenly, the ground shook. A section of the platform above collapsed, sending molten sparks and debris into the cavern. The aliens screamed and shouted, trying to stabilize the weapon. The group froze for a moment, listening. "This is our chance," Ethan whispered. "We move now." They climbed a small ledge leading toward the surface tunnels. Ethan checked his pulse. He was exhausted, his body battered, but he could not stop, not now. Humans pushed past fear and pain when duty called. As they reached a junction, alarms blared loudly through the tunnels. The aliens had discovered the sabotage. Soldiers came rushing toward their position, weapons glowing. Ethan pressed the group against the wall, holding up his hands. "Quiet," he said. "We can sneak past if we time it right." They waited, counting the soldiers' steps. When the patrols passed the blind spot, Ethan led the group through. They moved as one, silent and careful. Every step brought them closer to the surface and closer to freedom. A narrow shaft opened to a platform overlooking the alien base. Ethan peered over the edge. Dozens of alien soldiers were scrambling to fix the weapon, while others patrolled the area. The weapon itself flickered and hummed unpredictably, clearly destabilized. "We have to finish this," Ethan said. "We cannot leave until it is completely neutralized." Lyra and Kor nodded. "We will follow you," Lyra said. Ethan studied the platform. There were 2 control cores at the base of the weapon. If they could destroy or overload them, the weapon would be useless. But the cores were guarded, too many guards for a direct attack. Ethan's mind worked quickly. "We use distraction," he whispered. "I will draw their attention to the left side, you take the right. Small teams, fast, precise. We do not fight more than necessary." The group split. Ethan crept along the shadows toward the left core, Lyra and Kor heading toward the right. He could see the alien guards now, moving in a careful rhythm, scanning the area. Ethan's hands shook slightly, not from fear but from exhaustion. Pain burned through his body, every movement a struggle, but he focused. Humans survived because they could endure more than anyone expected. He adjusted his pulse pistol and waited for the right moment. When the first patrol guard approached, Ethan leapt from his cover, firing a precise shot that disabled the alien without making noise. He moved quickly from shadow to shadow, avoiding detection, reaching the left core. He examined the core. Wires and glowing panels covered its surface. Using his knowledge from earlier sabotage, he inserted the devices and manipulated the controls. Sparks flew and the core began to destabilize. The hum of the weapon faltered, and he could hear the soldiers shouting above. Meanwhile, Lyra and Kor were doing the same on the right core. The weapon's energy became erratic, flickering dangerously. Ethan glanced up and saw the aliens scrambling, some firing weapons wildly, others trying to repair the damage. "Almost done," Ethan whispered. "Finish it quickly." The cores began to overload. The energy pulsed, sending vibrations through the platform. Sparks flew everywhere. The aliens panicked, not knowing what was happening. Ethan and his team worked fast, ignoring the heat and the pain. Then a loud explosion shook the platform. The weapon emitted a blinding flash of light, and the hum of energy stopped abruptly. Smoke and sparks filled the area. The alien soldiers screamed, some falling to the ground. The weapon was neutralized. Ethan looked around. His body was battered, burns raw and painful, but he allowed himself a small smile. They had done it. The weapon was no longer a threat to the colony. "Good work," he whispered to Lyra and Kor. "Now we get out of here." The aliens were not defeated, though. Soldiers were regrouping, searching for intruders. Ethan knew they had only a short window to escape. He led the group through the nearest tunnel, avoiding patrols and traps. They moved quickly, using the tunnels Ethan had memorized. Every step was careful, every turn calculated. The aliens were fast, but Ethan knew the terrain better. He pushed the group forward, ignoring his pain. Hours passed. They reached a section where the tunnel opened to the surface. Ethan peered out. The alien base was chaotic. Soldiers were everywhere, but the team could use the rocks and shadows to move unseen. "Stay low," Ethan whispered. "We cross carefully." They moved as one, slipping between rocks and debris, avoiding patrols. Ethan felt his strength fading, but he refused to stop. Humans survived because they could endure no matter the cost. As they neared a safe distance, they saw human shuttles in orbit. Claire had alerted the fleet. Rescue was close. Relief filled Ethan's chest, but he did not let it show. There was still work to do. The aliens were still searching. A patrol spotted the group and fired. Ethan pushed Lyra and Kor forward, covering their retreat with precise shots. Sparks flew, and alien weapons missed him narrowly. "Go!" he shouted. "Get to the shuttles!" The group ran, dodging fire, climbing over rocks, and finally reaching a small landing area. Human shuttles descended, weapons ready. Ethan helped the creatures board, ensuring everyone got on safely. When it was his turn, Ethan stumbled, pain making it hard to move. A shuttle pilot reached for him. "Come on, soldier, you're going home." Ethan climbed aboard, collapsing into a seat. He looked at the glowing red surface of Vorton 9 one last time. The alien base was in chaos, their weapon destroyed. Humans had survived another impossible mission. The shuttle lifted off, moving toward orbit. Ethan's body ached, burns raw and exhaustion weighing heavily, but he smiled faintly. Humans survived because they never gave up, even when all seemed lost. Claire's voice came through the communicator. "Ethan, you're safe. You did it. You stopped the weapon." Ethan nodded even though she could not see him. "We did it," he said. "But this is only the beginning. There are more threats out there. I will be ready." The shuttle docked with the command ship. Captain Brooks and medics rushed to Ethan. They were shocked to see him alive. His body was battered, burned, and weak, but his eyes were sharp. "Ethan, you survived?" Captain Brooks asked, astonished. "Yes, sir," Ethan said quietly. "Humans survive, we endure, we fight, we do not give up." The medics helped him to a medical bed, starting to treat his burns and injuries. Ethan closed his eyes for a moment, letting the pain fade slightly, but his mind was already thinking ahead. There were still enemies in the galaxy, still dangers to face. He had survived lava, fire, alien weapons, and impossible odds. Humans survived because they had to. Ethan Miller was a proof of that. As he rested, he thought of the creatures who had trusted him, the human fleet, and the colony he had protected. Humans were clever, resilient, and brave. No matter what the universe threw at them, they would endure. Even if shot, burned, or buried, a human would always rise. And Ethan would be ready for whatever came next. Ethan Miller lay on the medical bed, the cool touch of the medics, instruments easing the worst of his burns. His body ached from every injury he had endured, lava burns, alien energy wounds, and the repeated blows from the alien soldiers. Yet, despite the pain, his mind was clear, focused on duty. Humans survived because they refused to stop, and Ethan was living proof of that. The command room of the human ship buzzed with activity. Claire Dawson was at the communication console, monitoring signals from Vorton 9. Captain Nathan Brooks paced nearby, a mixture of worry and admiration in his expression. The alien weapon had been destroyed, the colony was safe, and yet Ethan was alive against all odds. "Ethan," Captain Brooks said, approaching the bed. "How are you feeling?" Ethan opened his eyes slowly. "I'm alive, sir." "That's all that matters." His voice was quiet but steady, carrying the weight of someone who had stared death in the face and refused to surrender. "Alive," Brooks repeated, disbelief in his tone. "You were reported dead, shot, burned, and buried, everyone thought." "I know," Ethan interrupted. "I know what they thought, but humans survive, sir. That is what makes us different. We do not give up even when the universe tries to end us." Claire, standing nearby, smiled faintly. "You really did survive everything, Ethan." "I thought the signals were a mistake." "No mistake," Ethan said. "I sent a signal. I knew someone would notice. Someone always notices." The captain shook his head. "You've done more than survive. You've stopped a weapon that could have destroyed the colony. You've freed prisoners and inspired allies. I have never seen a human endure like this." Ethan let the praise pass over him. He had no interest in accolades. Duty was enough. Saving lives was enough. Yet he felt a quiet pride. Humans did remarkable things when pushed to the edge, and he had pushed harder than anyone could imagine. The medics worked quickly to stabilize him. Ethan's burned arms were wrapped carefully and the scorched patches on his face treated. Yet he refused to rest for long. Even in pain, he was thinking of the next mission, the next threat, and the humans who depended on him. Hours later, he was able to sit up. The pain had not gone away, but he could bear it. He stood slowly, supported by the medics, and walked into the command room. The crew fell silent, stunned by his presence. Here was a man who had been declared dead, yet he stood upright, battered but unbroken. "Report for duty," Captain Brooks said, his voice firm but filled with awe. "Even after all that, you still report for duty?" Ethan nodded. "Yes, sir. Duty does not end because I am injured. Humans fight because it is right, not because it is easy. I am ready for whatever comes next." The room fell quiet. Crew members exchanged glances, some shaking their heads in disbelief, others in admiration. A human had done the impossible. He had survived what should have been certain death, and yet he continued to serve. Claire came forward, placing a hand on Ethan's arm. "You've inspired everyone, Ethan, humans and aliens alike. Your survival, your determination, it has changed the way they see us." Ethan nodded quietly. "Humans have always been underestimated. That is our advantage. We endure, we adapt, we fight, and we survive. That is what makes us human." Captain Brooks approached again, holding a small data pad. "The Fleet Command wants to commend you officially. They are calling it one of the most remarkable acts of survival and bravery in human history. They want you to know that your actions saved countless lives." Ethan shook his head. "I did what needed to be done. I did not survive for praise. I survived because it was necessary." Brooks smiled faintly. "And yet, history will remember this. You have shown every human what it means to endure. You have set an example that will inspire generations." Ethan looked at the holographic map of Vorton 9 displayed in the command room. The red glow of the planet, with rivers of lava and the destroyed alien weapon, filled the projection. He had been there, crawled through every tunnel, faced death countless times, and yet he stood here alive. "I cannot rest long," he said. "There are still threats, other factions, other weapons. We have to be ready. Humans cannot wait." Captain Brooks nodded. "And they will be ready because of you. Your actions today will change how humans approach every mission. They will endure no matter what the universe throws at them." Ethan allowed himself a small smile. Humans survived because they refused to quit, even when death seemed certain. He had survived lava, fire, alien weapons, and impossible odds. But that was not the end. It was only the beginning. Later, Ethan was allowed to walk through the command ship's corridors. Crew members stopped to look at him, some whispering in awe. Every glance was a reminder that humans could endure more than anyone expected. He was a living example of that endurance. In a small private room, he finally allowed himself to rest for a few minutes. The burns throbbed and his body was exhausted, yet he felt no fear. Humans survived because they had to. Pain, injury, and even death could not stop them. Claire entered quietly. "Ethan," she said softly, "the fleet has received reports from Vorton 9. They are amazed. They want to debrief you immediately." "I'll go," Ethan said, rising with difficulty. "But only to make sure everyone is safe. That is all that matters." The debriefing was intense. Ethan explained the alien weapon, the patrols, the tunnels, and how he had managed to sabotage the system. The fleet officers listened in stunned silence. Every detail of his survival and ingenuity amazed them. "Your actions have prevented a catastrophe," one officer said. "The colony would have been destroyed without your intervention. Your survival, despite the injuries, it is almost unbelievable." Ethan nodded simply. "I did what needed to be done. Humans survive because we refuse to quit. That is all." After the debriefing, Ethan was allowed to see the crew he had indirectly saved. Lyra, Kor, and the freed prisoners were brought aboard under human care. They looked at Ethan with gratitude and awe. He had risked his life for them, and they would not forget it. Lyra stepped forward. "You are different," she said softly. "Stronger than anyone I have known. You risked everything for us. We owe you our lives." Ethan smiled faintly. "You do not owe me anything. Humans fight for what is right. That is how we survive. That is what we do." Kor added, "Your people, they are incredible. I see now why humans endure. You inspire hope even when all seems lost." Ethan nodded. "Humans endure because we have to. Fear and death will not stop us. We adapt, survive, and fight. That is what makes us human." The fleet command held a small ceremony later. Captain Brooks presented Ethan with a commendation for bravery and resilience. The crew applauded, many in tears, knowing they had witnessed something extraordinary. A human had survived what no one else could and had completed the mission against impossible odds. Ethan accepted the commendation quietly. He did not need recognition. Survival and duty were reward enough. Yet, he understood that his actions had inspired everyone. Humans would remember what they were capable of. As he walked away from the ceremony, he looked out at the stars. The universe was vast, filled with dangers and challenges, but humans had a strength unlike any other species. They endured, they adapted, and they survived. He had survived, and he would continue to serve, ready for whatever came next. Even shot, burned, and buried, Ethan Miller had reported for duty, and humans would continue to endure no matter the odds. The ship moved on through the stars, carrying its human crew and their alien allies. Ethan, battered but unbroken, prepared for the next mission, knowing that no matter the danger, humans would face it head-on. Survival was not just instinct, it was duty, courage, and determination, and Ethan Miller was living proof of it.